You are listening to the Empowered Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monica Froese, a mom of two and your secret weapon to creating a six-figure digital product business. I'm on a mission to help 1,000 women make $100,000 a year. That's right, $100 million towards financial independence for women. As an online business expert, I am teaching you everything I know right here week after week, so you can join us on the journey to $100 million. Sound good? Then let's jump in. Happy Thanksgiving. If you are in the States, then this episode is dropping on Thanksgiving, which is the perfect day to slow down and give thanks to all of the great things in our lives. The last 2 years have been a wild ride. Politics, social movements, a global pandemic. There is no shortage of reasons why we might all collectively feel a bit stressed out. But today, I wanted to take a few minutes to reflect on all that I am grateful for, and I hope you take some time to do the same. The first thing I am grateful for this year is you. Yes, you. I've wanted to start a podcast forever, and the fact that you are here listening to me right now is super humbling and amazing. Your feedback on each episode has been one of the highlights of my year. The fact that so many of you tell me how much what I say resonates with you is just incredible. Thank you for being here and helping me to make the Empowered Business Podcast a success. Thank you for letting me elevate and share the stories of other women. There is so much left to do to help women achieve financial independence and security. And every time you take the time to listen to an interview with another rock star entrepreneur, you are helping us achieve that goal. Also, the second thing I am so thankful for is my amazing team. So shout out to Katie and Haley. If you've followed me for any amount of time, you likely know who Haley is. She has been with me for over 2 years, and she has taken on many different roles in the business. In fact, we recorded an episode, which we'll link to, all about how she helps run the operations side of our business. She is now our operations manager. I think she started as our community manager. I often refer to her as my unicorn, but that can also put a lot of pressure on someone. So, when there's just two people working in a business, it's a lot. It can be a lot of pressure. And I don't know how I got so lucky to find Haley, but she has been a game changer, not only in my business, but in the content that we put out, what we can do to help our students, and really in my life. And then this year, what I'm also thankful for is we hired our second full-time employee. Her name is Katie, and she is our operations assistant. And well, she makes Haley and I's life so much easier. I don't know how I got so lucky to work with amazing women every day in my business, but I am so thankful for that. And of course, there are a ton of other people that help us every day in our business that might not be full-time employees, but we work with amazing women who run so many different aspects of our business, from bookkeeping to our lawyer, Jamie Lieberman. Shout out to her. She is amazing. We also have an episode that I interviewed her on. We'll link to that too. And we cannot forget Stephanie, who is our podcast manager. And I'm telling you right now, without her, this podcast would not happen. Like I said, I wanted to put out a podcast for years, and bandwidth was always an issue. She made launching this podcast so easy. All I had to do was show up and record. And hey, I'm not saying that that's the easiest thing, because honestly, coming up with all the content for the show, that's a lot of work. But getting it out into the world, she is amazing. She is a pleasure to work with, and I am so honored that I found her and that she is supporting us on this podcast. All right, the third thing I'm thankful for, of course, my family, my husband, and my two beautiful daughters. They give me the space to be my best self and to show up each and every day, to share my gifts with you. So I definitely have to give them a big shout out. On a personal level, there's a lot to be thankful for this year as well. If you have listened to episode 22, which is all about, I gave a life update in June of this year. And I also talked about a story that happened when I bought my new car. I had a very misogynistic experience with the finance manager at the dealership. And I talked in that episode about how 2020, as it was for many of us, was extremely mentally, emotionally, and physically draining. I also talked about how in the middle of the pandemic, I also was coming out of my haze of postpartum. I have a pretty long postpartum period with both of my daughters. It lasted about 2.5 years. And now that I'm done having children, I really was at a crossroads in pretty much figuring out who I am now. I only have 2 children, but it really feels like it was about a decade of my life because my kids are 5.5 years apart. And it was a lot of rediscovering myself, which I don't think I'm done doing. And so I won't say too much about what has changed for me in 2021 yet, but I have a feeling that will be a future episode. However, I am extremely grateful for the opportunities that this business does afford me and how I'm able to grow and stretch myself in personal ways that I probably wouldn't be able to do if it wasn't for this business. And this business wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you supporting and listening week after week. So thank you so much. We are doing a Black Friday sale. Of course, I can't leave you on Thanksgiving without telling you about it. At the time of this recording, we're still working out all the logistics, but I can tell you that we keep things pretty consistent. And so you can always find our Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals over at monicafroze.com/Black-Friday. Of course, we'll link to that in the show notes. And lastly, I would love for you to send me a DM on Instagram. My handle is at monica.froze. I love to hear from you. I love to hear your thoughts and your insights. I love to hear ideas for future episodes. I also love to hear ideas for future guests. How can we help elevate other women and give them a platform and a stage to share their gifts? Maybe that's you. Maybe you would be a great fit to be on the podcast and you should let me know. Or maybe you just want to tell me what you're thankful for. I'd love to hear that as well. So go ahead and send me a DM over on Instagram at monica.froze. And I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. And if you are not listening from the States, I still hope you have a very awesome day as well. And I will meet you back here next week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Empowered Business Podcast. Be sure to follow the show and leave a rating and review. I read each one and I love hearing from you. As always, you can find all of the links and information mentioned in this episode at monicafroze.com/podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in.